Welcome back to the Blue Chip Breakdown, Vols fans. I'm your host, Bull, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about the updated On3 rankings for the 2024 class and our volunteers. But before we get into that, I want to talk about the Senior Bowl because it is starting today at 10:30 Eastern Time on NFL Network. So by the time y'all see this video, it will have already started. It might actually already be over. But I am going to be watching this one very closely, and I'll be coming back to the channel with some updated information on how our one player is performing. And the only player that we have in the Senior Bowl right now is Joe Milton. So Jalen Wright was supposed to be in the Senior Bowl. It sounds like he has some sort of a minor injury that, maybe kind of set him back, but he's not going to be participating in this. I don't think that it's really going to hurt his draft stock too much, okay, because he's going to be able to make his money at the combine, right? He's got great game film. He's got great stats, averaging almost 7.4 yards per carry. So he's going to be good, okay? Again, pro day for him and the combine is going to be the most important thing. How does he measure up versus the other running backs? Not just his size, but in the on-field drills, as far as how fast he's going to be able to run, how many reps he's going to get up in the bench. And obviously his interviews are going to mean a lot as well. How well does he know, different fronts that he's going to be seeing in the NFL? How well can he identify different blitz packages, things like that? That's going to help him out tremendously, but I think that he's in a really, really good spot. Now, on to Joe Milton. We actually got his measurables, and I think that they look really, really good. There's a lot to love right here. All right, so he's listed at 6'5", 235 pounds. Now, this one right here is the kicker to me. His hand size came in at 10 3/8 inches, okay? So that would actually give him the biggest hands in the NFL as far as I know currently. I believe that the man with the bigger hands, or with the biggest hands coming into this season, was Russell Wilson, and his hands were 10 1/4 inches. So outside of that, we've got Josh Allen, and we've also got Aaron Rodgers, who had 10 1/8 inch hands. So those are really good numbers, and I'm telling you, the scouts love to see those types of things. If he comes out and if he has a good showing at the Senior Bowl, it can propel him tremendously up the draft board. So we're going to be looking out for that, and we already know that that's going to be big for our team moving forward. The number one thing that these high school players, college transfers, all that want to see is a team that can produce draft picks, and high draft picks means even more. I think more than anything else, that is the one singular metric that we have got to improve on. And I also think that it has the greatest impact on the caliber of blue chip players that we can get into Tennessee. Now let's go on ahead and shift gears to what the On3 updated rankings look like. All right, so On3 has us ranked 12th nationally, 8th in the SEC, and our players are averaging 91.57, which is good. You can also see down here that we are averaging 57% blue chips for this class, which is really good, okay? So we got in 30 players, okay, including the transfers. And what we'll see as we look through, 22 and 23 and see how those classes stack up compared to this one, we'll see that the blue chip number has increased significantly year to year to year. Now, let's go on to 2023 and let's see how that class finished. All right, so in 2023, we finished 12th nationally, 4th in the SEC, and our players were averaging a 91.63. And down here, you see that the blue chip percentage was 46%, which is good. And we also had 36 players in that class. Now let's go to 2022 and see how that class looks. All right, so in 2022, we finished 15th nationally, 5th in the SEC. Players were averaging 89.67, and we were also averaging 43% blue chip players. We had 32 players in this class. All right, now let's go back to 2024 and let's take a look at what's going on with our players, because we did have some that actually took a step up in the rankings, but we also had some that took a step down. So starting it off at the top with Mike Matthews. Okay, this is a guy that I am anticipating to be a player this season. He's going to get rotated in. I think that he absolutely has to be. Right here, okay, we can see all of the different, major industry rankings for all of our players, right? So On3 has him ranked as a 4-star. He's number 38 nationally. He's the number 7 wide receiver. You know that we usually go by 24/7 Sports. You can see how they match up compared to On3. But Mike actually moved up 8 spots in the final rankings on On3, so that's a good look. He is a 5-star caliber player, though, guys. Let me just tell you that right here, right now, okay? He's an absolute and total stud. Again, man, you kind of got to take these rankings with a grain of salt. Sometimes players will move up and down, and it's really more about politics. It's not so much about how the players play. We did get to see Mike Matthews in the Polynesian Bowl, and he looked really good. He actually won co-MVP, okay? He was the offensive MVP, so we know that he can play with the best of them. Now, On down to Braylon Staley. He's another player that I do believe will get some playing time this season. He's another stud. Reminds me a lot of Mike Matthews. Okay, now on down, Boo Carter moved up over 50 spots. He's ranked number 188th overall. He's the number 4 athlete. This is another one that we could see him playing this season, okay? Peyton Lewis is another guy that jumped up a lot, okay? Over 60 spots. He's number 67 overall, and he's the number 4 rated running back. Again, I think that he has a good chance to play this season. Now on to Jake Merklinger, all right? Jake actually dropped from number 222 nationally out of the top 300, okay? But he is still a 4-star. What's the reason for his drop? I'm not quite sure, but let's take a look at what his stats were playing at Calvary, all right? And I'm getting this from Max Preps, okay? So let's come on down here, okay? Now you can see that his numbers seem to have increased, right? Especially from his junior to his senior season. Look right there, okay? So he's got 3,000 yards, okay? He's also completing passes at 72%. Let's come on over here. He's got 38 touchdowns, and he only threw 2 interceptions. In the previous season, he had 32 touchdowns and only threw 2 interceptions. So what does that mean? Well, it means that his ranking didn't drop because of his level of play by any means, okay? It means that he is a really, really good football player. And, you know, again, sometimes these rankings, players will go up and down, and we don't really know why, okay? We also saw him in the Polynesian Bowl. He's the only quarterback in that game that didn't throw an interception. Now, he did have that one fumble whenever he was trying to run that football. He does have to try to take care of the ball a little bit better when he's scrambling. But to me, just seeing a quarterback that not only can make all of the throws, right? That's got the proper size, prototype size, everything, but he can also run if need be. Guys, do not get discouraged by him dropping in the rankings. He is a stud, and I cannot wait until we get an opportunity to see Jake Merklinger play for our Volunteers. All right, so let's keep on scrolling down, and right here we see William Satterwhite, okay? There's no real movement here that I know of, but he's another guy that I think that he has a great opportunity to at least add some good quality depth to this team. We've talked about him a lot. We think that he could be the center once Cooper Mays does graduate after this season. Love his fundamentals, love his technique. He's going to be a stud. Okay, now Max Anderson, okay, this is another guy. He could play, tackle. He could play guard. I think that he also has a chance to push for a depth spot this season. We'll see how these young guys do once they get on campus. Obviously, for the offensive lineman, it takes them a little bit more time to get acclimated to playing on this level of football, but we do have some really good young guys coming in. Next guy is Kellen Lindstrom. He moved up 45 spots. Now he's the number 254 overall prospect in the country, and he's the number 29 edge. This is a guy that's probably going to be playing that strong side defensive end position. I love his film. I love his game. I'm very excited to see if he can earn some playing time early on this season with our Volunteers. Now on down to Marcus Gorey Jr. There's no real movement there, but he's a player that's also versatile. Okay, he can play anywhere in the secondary. I think it's going to be very interesting to see where the staff wants to put him at early on and if there's going to be any changes moving forward to where he plays. Again, with him being so versatile, you have to love what he can bring to this team. Keep on going down to Idris Farouk, and there's no real movement there. He's a safety body, okay? I think he's more of a box safety, but he could potentially also play free safety if we need him to, and maybe even star. So, keeping up with the trend of players being versatile on this team. Next guy is Gage Ginter. There's no real movement there, and I'm pretty surprised about that because watching the film breakdowns, I thought that Gage Ginter was the best offensive lineman in this class. Really, really love what you see there. Okay, great fundamentals, and he's a dog just like all the rest of them. I would be shocked if he doesn't move up on the depth chart once he gets on campus and once we kind of start going through practices and all that good stuff. Now let's keep on scrolling and let's see who else we got. Jesse Perry, okay? He's an offensive tackle. He's staying put where he was to kind of start things off, okay? He is a really good player as well. I think that he's got a chance to be a good depth piece for us on down the line, but probably a little bit more of a project for our Vols. And the next guy is Jordan Ross. Now, Jordan Ross moved up to a 5-star status with On3, okay? He's now the number 7 rated overall player, and he's the number 1 pass rusher overall. So we talked about him several times. He's got the size, he's got the length, okay, everything, right? From his height to his weight, he's filled out nicely, and he can still add another, I would say, 20 pounds and continue to be as explosive as he is. He's a great player. Puts me in the mind of James Pierce, and we've said this several times as well. I think he's got a higher ceiling than what James Pierce has. This is a guy that a lot of people tend to overlook whenever, some of these other YouTubers are talking about who's going to be starting or who's going to be able to get some good rotation as a true freshman. Jordan Ross, I think, has the biggest opportunity to be a real player for us in 2024. He's that good, but we'll see how he does versus SEC level competition once he gets on campus. Now, the next guy is Bennett Warren, and he actually moved up 3 spots. He's now ranked number 280 overall, and he's the number 24 ranked offensive tackle. We've also seen him play in some of these all-star games. He looks pretty good, right? You can tell that he's got the size, everything that you would really want, but he does have to clean up several things, from a fundamental perspective, and we are anticipating that that's going to happen. I would say out of anything that players get better at, it's definitely going to be fundamentals once you get to college. It really doesn't matter where you came from, because you get so many reps. You do it over and over and over again, and the coaches are going to be a lot more critical of the small details, and that's going to pay dividends for Bennett Warren. And we'll see how much of a leap he can take, right, from the start of the season to the end of the season. I don't think he's coming in for spring, and it would be great if he could have, but with him probably coming in over the summer, he is going to be a guy that I know that the staff's going to be looking to push, because in 2025, we're looking for him to potentially be a starter for us because we're graduating so many upperclassmen. All right, on to the next player. We've got Caleb Beasley. Caleb actually dropped 22 spots in the rankings. He's number 125 overall, but he's still the number 17th ranked corner. So they moved some players at some different spots up over Caleb, but he is still a really good player, okay? He didn't do much in that Polynesian Bowl, but he didn't really get very many opportunities. I think he's going to be just fine. He's got prototype size. He's got great footwork at the line of scrimmage, and his father was a coach, or, is still a coach. So he's going to be just fine. I'm not worried about him. Let's continue to scroll. Okay, so Edwin Spillman. Edwin is another player that dropped out of the top 300. Again, we're not quite sure why. He looked great to us in the Polynesian Bowl. He's exactly what we want in a Mike linebacker. He's a really good athlete, plays sideline to sideline. He's a very physical player, really kind of plays through the echo of that whistle, and you want linebackers with that type of an attitude on your team. I'm not worried about him dropping out. Obviously, it sucks for him because he is a really good young man, but he's going to be just fine once he gets on campus. We don't have to worry about his level of play because he's going to be a stud. Now, the next player is Jordan Burns. He kind of stayed put. Thought that he would have took a leap forward in these rankings because he's another really good linebacker that's coming in. More of an outside linebacker body type. Okay, I think that he could still play inside. He's a little bit bigger than Edwin Spillman, and he might be just a little bit faster as well, but he's a stud, okay? He's a really good football player, and we're looking forward to seeing what he's going to do for us this upcoming season. Now, Jamal Wallace, who is listed as an edge player, but I think that he would have to lose a lot of weight to be able to play edge for us, even if it's at the strong side D-end spot. I think he's more of a tackle body, but we'll see what happens once he does get on campus, once spring football practice starts and all that good stuff. Next guy is Jeremiah Hurd, and I think that he did actually also take a drop. So he did. He dropped out of the top 300 as well. We haven't really seen a whole lot of film on him. Now, I don't know if the analysts at On3 or on any of these other sites have had the opportunity to get film on him. I'm sure they probably have, but I haven't really seen much, so it's hard to quantify why he dropped. Okay, he is actually rated as a defensive lineman right here. We kind of feel like he's probably got more of an upside plan on the offensive side of the ball, maybe a tackle, something like that. He's got a really big frame, and he's a really good athlete. He's got good feet. I think that him playing left or right tackle would suit him well. So whenever you look at it from that perspective, you have to like his upside just as a really good athlete. Okay, now on down, we've got Carson Gentle, who also stayed put in the rankings, but he's another player that is going to be a really good edge guy for us, strong side type of a body. Really curious to see if he's going to be able to help us at all, get into the mix as a true freshman, or if it's going to take him a year or two to get more acclimated to the, skill sets of the SEC. Now, as we continue to scroll, we've also got Cole Harrison. Okay, that's the big tight end. He is still a 3-star. He, hopefully can be a good depth piece for us this season. He might have to get thrown out there into the fire because we're still a little bit short-handed, and we'll see how he can come along in the spring. Next guy is Zalance Hurd, who we all know is an absolute and total stud. Plug-and-play guy at left tackle. He's going to be a monster. Okay, behind him, we've got Miles Kitselman. That's the tight end that we got from Alabama. He's a transfer guy. He will for sure get some rotation this season. Would like to see us, maybe get into some 13 personnel, something like that, okay? Get him in the game, maybe get into some heavy run sets. I don't think the Heupel has ever done that, but it could work out for us on the goal line because you've got 3 tight ends who can block and who can also go out for passes. So that would be interesting to see if that happens. Chris Brazzell, he's a stud, okay? I think he's going to start as a wide receiver for us this season. I think he's going to be one of the most productive wide receivers on this team. Looking forward to him. Jermod McCoy, going to be probably playing corner for us. I think that he could also start, okay? That's going to be another very interesting battle in the spring. Who's going to win at corner, star, and at 2 of the safety spots? I think that he's got a good shot to, either be a corner, starting for us, or a star player, okay? And then up under him, we've got Jalen McMurray, who is a corner body, okay? We've also heard maybe he could be playing star. He's another really good player. Looking forward to seeing what he's gonna do. Heard he did come in a little bit undersized, but I think that that's gonna be okay whenever you watch his technique, watch his fundamentals. If we can add some weight to his frame, I think he's gonna be another really, really good player for us. Jacoby Thomas, this is my guy. I think he could play safety, he could play star, but to me, he's got to be a starter. I believe that the 2 starting safeties should be Mr. Kobe Thomas and John Slaughter, but again, we'll see how those position battles play out in the spring. And then we've got Holden Stays. Holden Stays is the tight end transfer from Notre Dame. He's going to get a lot of playing time this season. Who's going to start? Is it going to be him, or is it going to be Ethan Davis? To me, it's kind of a toss-up, but it should be a pretty fun battle to watch play out. Then we've got Big Jackson Moy, who we know is going to be a big-time player for us in 25, but I also think he's got a good chance to get into the rotation, this season. So, again, we've got a whole lot of depth on that defensive line, and we're just adding more bodies to it. And the last player on this list is Eli Purcell, who is a preferred walk-on transfer. Okay, I believe that he came from Wofford, but he's a good player. Okay, probably going to be more of a special teams guy. More of a, if we absolutely have to throw somebody in there, we need him to go in. I think that he can handle it. He's going to know what to do. Okay, he may not be the absolute best athlete, maybe a little bit undersized, but I think he's going to be a really solid football player for our Volunteers. All right, so that's it for this video. I hope that y'all enjoyed it. Again, I'm going to be covering that Senior Bowl pretty heavily, and we'll see what Joe Milton can do. Hopefully he can step up. And I love this class, man. Again, those rankings, all that type of stuff, people moving up, moving down, kind of take it with a grain of salt. But clearly, man, we've got a lot of studs. And, we're going to have a good football team for the next few seasons. And we've talked about 2025. We're already trending right in that class. And I think that we've got a good opportunity for that to be the best class that Coach Heupel has had since he's been up in Knoxville. But as always, thank y'all so much for tuning in and staying all the way to the end. Please make sure to like, subscribe, share with your friends, family, and other volunteer fans. Click that notification bell, and we'll see y'all in the next one. Thanks. Peace.